Welcome back to Nerd Notified. Blade Runner 2049 picks up some 20 years after the original 80s film Blade Runner starring Harrison Ford. Blade Runner 2049 is directed by French-Canadian director Denis Villeneuve, and I tried my best not to butcher that because I wanted to do his name justice, and I think I got it right. And starring Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford reprising his role, Jared Leto, Robin Wright, and just a host of other strong actors and actresses. I want to start by saying that Villeneuve, the director, who's also done Arrival last year and Sicario the year before that, and many other films, has really a strong eye and sense of what the original Blade Runner was and what it meant to fans, and how he approached this movie while still maintaining his own vision and just overall feel for the flick, and it was phenomenal. Not just in his directing abilities, but in the cinematography, in the music, and in the soundtrack, and the score, and characters, and the writing. Everything is, for a sci-fi fan, and for anyone who's just a fan of film, extremely well done. And without getting into spoilers or what I think ruins the heart of this movie, I don't want to go too far in depth on too many of these aspects that make this film so good, because I think it will take away from your experience of it. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean the overall flow of the film, the pacing, some of the shots. The music is spectacular. The soundtrack is just superb and harkens back to what made Blade Runner so cool and such a, quintessential sci-fi flick to begin with. There's so much of this movie that works and gels together so nicely that if I go too in depth on it, I think it ruins what makes it so strong. So I'd rather keep some of those things to a bare minimum if I can help it. All right, so like I said before, Blade Runner 2049 picks up some 20 years later after the original. And you are jumping into the shoes of Ryan Gosling's character, Kay, who is a new Blade Runner that we know nothing about. If you're new to the Blade Runner just franchise now, or the movies in general, Blade Runners are cops or detectives, whatever you want to call them, hunters essentially, looking for replicants who are bioengineered humans that were pretty much used for ideal slave labor in this world. But they are not real humans, they have been bioengineered, and these Blade Runners have to hunt down the replicants and retire them, basically putting them out of commission in whatever way, shape, or form, whether that's bringing them in and doing it, voluntarily, or much more violent means. And this film opens up with Kay, Ryan Gosling's character, looking to question a possible replicant, Dave Bautista's character. And man, this opening is one of the strongest openings in film this year, period. Needless to say, this movie ends up taking you in a wild direction where you get to meet a host of characters that are intriguing, interesting, that you want to know more about, that you want to get behind their backstories, especially Jared Leto's Neander Wallace, who I found to be incredibly interesting. And if you hadn't watched any of the early shorts that were premiered before the movie, I believe Denis Villeneuve had 3 of his director friends make shorts for this. One was an animated, which was in the style, I want to say from the guys who did Cowboy Bebop. That's the only one I didn't watch, and I really, really want to check that out. But there's a short that stars Dave Bautista and another that stars Jared Leto's Neander Wallace that are both just phenomenal. And that right there, I think, brings up the greatest strength to this movie, is the Blade Runner world is so interesting. It's so dark, it's so gritty. It's a future that seems plausible and possible, but also almost holds like the darkest, part of our psyches in it. The conspiracies, the immense need to control, the immense, just feel of freedom that we want too. So, because this movie and the original Blade Runner really bring to question what is human. That's always a big sci-fi thing in anytime we have robots or AI or whatever, or some sentient beings. But what is humanity? What makes us human? That is always a major draw in a lot of big sci-fi films, and this doesn't shy away from it. In fact, I think it answers it better, if not really drawing attention to the question, but doing it in its own way. And again, without spoiling stuff, I don't want to say much more than that. But along with Jared Leto's Wallace is Ryan Gosling's Kay, who becomes equally just as interesting and really your main focus the entirety of the film. I mean, there's not much that we don't really get to see, you know, Kay interacting with someone or whatever, and it's just so well thought out that I think most people are really gonna have a good time and maybe have some epiphany moments while watching this. There are gonna be some cringy moments that you're like, whoa, but it's all done, I guess, in taste and with respect to the actors and actresses as well as the film and what they're trying to portray, and it's just so enjoyable. Blade Runner 2049 is such a thought-provoking movie, and the original was as well. I mean, it really required multiple viewings to really get a sense of what they were trying to tell you in that story, and I think this one is no different, albeit for me, maybe it's a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more on the nose, really. So it's not quite as in the subtext of everything that you need to really kind of look into and figure out these ins and outs that you may not have noticed. But it is such a really thrilling and, again, thought-provoking experience that as you're watching this, you're just really just in your head the entire time. Like, well, what about this? Well, what is this? Is this a thing? Does this matter? And I think that's a sign of a good film. I mentioned earlier the soundtrack, and I 100% feel that it is what helps elevate this movie to the next level. And you'll notice it in scenes because they are long takes. They are, you know, really patient with giving you something or unfolding some part of the narrative. And the music just adds so much really strong tension or anxiety or whatever the feeling is that you get from it. It's just truly, I want to say a masterpiece. It really is. I enjoyed it that much. Now, you've heard me gush over this film the last, 10 minutes or however long this thing is going to be. I greatly enjoyed this movie. This is a movie that I 100% think needs to be seen in theaters. If you have a chance to go see it, go support this movie because, as I can tell, the opening weekend did not do as strong as they were hoping, at least, or as many predicted it would. So get up, go out, go see Blade Runner 2049 in theaters. Give them the support that they need so we can see either more from the franchise or just to help get these type of movies back up there. I mean, we've had some pretty strong sci-fi films in the last 5 years, but this is tops easily for me. Top sci-fi film in many years for me. So it is 100% worth the viewing. Get up, go out, go see Blade Runner 2049, please. All right, everybody, those are my thoughts. I'm in love with this movie, as you can tell, but what are your thoughts? I'd love to know what you guys think. Don't forget to drop a comment below. Let's talk about this a little bit. Did you really enjoy the direction that it took with the movie? Did you really have a good time with Kay, or did you like, Ryan Gosling's portrayal of a Blade Runner? Let me know. There's so much that this movie can splinter into discussions-wise. I'd love to be a part of it, so let's start that down below. Don't forget that you guys can follow me on social media, facebook.com/nerdnotify, or at Twitter at suspects101, that is SUSPEKTZ101, and those links will be in the description below as well. As always, thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to share this with your friends and family, and I will catch you guys next time on Nerd Notify. You've just been notified. Peace!